You may now be seated. Thank you very much for being here today as we celebrate this historical marker for Dr. Ed Grist. I'm Cindy Coors, and I'm the chair of the Cornell County Historical Commission. I'd like to thank the Wursthall Association for allowing us to have this celebration inside the Wursthall. It seems very fitting to honor him here. I'd like to thank the American Legion Post 179 and the VFW Post 7110 for posting the colors today. And a special thanks to the Grist family members for leading us in the pledges and, of course, the invocation. Thank you so much. Dr. Ed was the original Spaßmeister, which means the fun master of Wursthall. His veterinary service, his practice here had a huge impact, not just in the Braunfels, but the county and the state. He was a family man, he was a community leader, and all I can say is how fortunate we were to have him settle here when he got out of veterinary school in 1937. He contributed so much to this community, to the state, and such a benefit to so many. The historical marker process takes some time. It's usually anywhere from, we tell people to plan on about 18 months, but it's really 2 years. About 3 years ago, Susie and Joe Grist contacted me, and they were interested in getting a historical marker possibly for the veterinary building, which is out of their property. After I looked at it, I told Susie and Joe that I thought maybe a marker for Dr. Grist would be the better thing to do. The building is still there, but it has taken a toll. The weather has taken a toll on it a few times being flooded. And so it made perfect sense to honor Dr. Ed. So we were very excited. So I'd like to thank Susie and Joe for their efforts in preserving this wonderful history of Cornell County. Thank you very much. The Cornell County Historical Commission is appointed by the Commissioners Court of the county. And each year we work with marker sponsors that want to get a historical marker. So we serve as the point of contact, advise them how to do that. A lot of times we help them write the narrative that's required for the marker. But many times they already have all the information and they're willing to write it. I'd like to point out that Susie Grist actually wrote the narrative that goes into the state to get the marker. She did a tremendous job, and through that we all got to learn more about Dr. Grist. And she just has a treasure trove of photos, newspaper articles, diplomas, awards. I mean, it's really quite incredible. I think you can have a small museum, Susie, just as I said, we're appointed by the Cornell County Commissioners Court. And today I'd like to, any of our historical commission members that are here, I'd like for you to stand and raise your hands so everybody can see you. We've got quite a few here today. Stand up. The county is very supportive of preservation in the county, and they're always supportive of anything that the Cornell County Historical Commission wants to do. And so we're very pleased, of course, today to have Judge Krause here with us. He's going to say a few words. I only saw one of the commissioners here, Donna Eccleston. I haven't seen the others. But, anyway, we appreciate you being here. And I'm going to turn this over to Judge Krause.
Thank you, Cindy. Well, I think this might be one of the largest crowds we've ever had for a historical marker dedication. So thank you all for being here. It's a great honor for me. It's a great honor for me to be here, not only representing Commissioner's Court and our Canal County Historical Commission and all of the work that they do, but it's a great honor for me to be here representing Wursthall as well. As you heard in the invocation, Dr. Grist set a great example for all of us, and you're really seeing that play out here today, I think. When we talked about the request to have this historical marker dedication right here in Wursthall, we thought there was no better place to have it. When I'm talking about Wursthall, when it was presented to the board of directors, the entire board looked around thinking, where else could you have it? Except right here in Wursthall. And then you also see that volunteer effort and that example that was set by Dr. Grist in serving our community. You see that played out in our Canal County Historical Commission as well. You saw several members stand up earlier when Cindy asked or introduced them. We see them in Commissioner's Court every time we have something related to preserving the history of our county as well. So thank you to them for all of their work. Thank you, Joe and Susie, for all of the work that you've done and allowing us to host this marker dedication here. And thank you to the Wursthall Association for turning out in such great numbers to support something honoring Dr. Grist. So thank you all.
Thank you very much, Sherman. I now want to introduce Dr. Bubba Wojtek from Texas A&M. Bubba was a friend of Dr. Grist and worked with him on establishing a scholarship fund in Dr. Grist's name. So we are just so thrilled to have him here today. Please give him a warm welcome.
Dr. Mike Let's see, who else helped with that? It was Dr. Gary Braunfels, Dr. Pat Hines, and Dr. Mike Lowry. They played a very, very important role in starting the scholarship. The scholarship now is worth over $86,000. 86, so that is amazing. And we get out, it started, I came here and met Dr. Grist, and that's what we wanted to say about him, how he wanted to. One thing he talked about all that he was involved in this community. And one thing, the only thing, the most important thing he asked, he said, I wanted to go to kids, young people that want to be veterinarians or veterinary school, and I wanted to be from Comal County. So we've given out over the last 15 years over $33,000 to students from Comal County. So that's a really Dr. Grist, when I went to see him, I couldn't believe how bad that rheumatoid arthritis was destroying his body. I mean, it was just terrible. But I've been in kind of feeling sorry for him. When I came out, I was fired up. I was ready to raise a bunch more scholarship. The rheumatoid arthritis didn't affect his brain. It didn't affect his spirit. And he let me know real quick, oh guys, you get out there and you keep raising scholarships for your young kids. He doesn't know what the other thing about it. So what a great man. That's the biggest interaction I had with him. But I can't believe and y'all know that Joe about what he accomplished here with not only the state veterinary association, he was the executive director. And he finally got, I think, just was so getting worn out, and as soon as he quit, then they started paying somebody. Well, Dr. Grist did it for nothing. We were doing it. But also him being involved in the Lions Club, with the local school board. And then with the rabies outbreaks they had. Can you imagine here what would this be like now if the water was contaminated in the aquifer? I mean, it was just amazing the things that he did to help this community. It just blows my mind. I'm so proud that he went to Texas A&M and graduated in history. So anyway, it's a real honor for me to be here and tell you how much we appreciate what he did. He left a great legacy for all of you young people and for everyone. And we need, right now, I think this world needs an extra life. So thank y'all very much. God bless America. He loved the state of Texas. He loved this community, this family, and this city. And big Magnus. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Wursthall. Now we're going to have Joe Grist, who's the son of Dr. Grist, who's going to share some memories of this. So please welcome Joe.
I hope everybody can hear me okay. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Wursthall. He was a great friend of Daddy. And when Daddy was consumed with the rheumatoid arthritis, probably really picked his spirits up. And we'll always remember and appreciate you for doing that. Thank you. So my dad, Dr. Ed Grist, was born in Austin, Texas on July 27, 1915. This was before there were any dams on the Colorado River, and he had many adventures, including trapping raccoons and possums and catching snakes. He'd skin the snakes and make headbands out of them. One of the items he collected was a very large hornet's nest, which he put in his room. He didn't think it was active, but it came to life one day and filled the family home with angry hornets. He was an avid swimmer as well and became a Sea Scout. One of his summer jobs as a young man was maintaining a large private sulfur swimming pool. It was located just south of the river downtown. He and his older brother also mowed lawns in the Travis Heights area. Dad also worked at the Stick Printing Company, where his father, John Hatton Grist, worked. That was my grandfather. Dan went to Austin High School. When he was working on the sulfur pool, he picked up an Austin American Statesman, which had been delivered to the house. He perused the paper and found an article about a man named Dr. Mark Francis, head of the School of Veterinary Medicine at Texas A&M. This inspired Daddy so much, he made it his mission to attend Texas A&M and become a veterinarian. Mr. Steck helped Dad financially so he could attend the college. He became a member of the Corps as a 98-pound weakling, in his words. He eventually lettered in swimming and water polo. He loved everything about being an Aggie, and he thrived physically and academically. He did have to take organic chemistry with him once. While in the School of Veterinary Medicine, he helped patch up a little dog that had been injured in College Station. That little bug turned out to be the first Aggie mascot, Rilla. While attending college, Daddy would visit New Braunfels to swim at the rapids at Warnicki's, and he learned to love the little town with the rivers and springs. So when he graduated in 1937, he came to New Braunfels, practically right after graduation, just days. And just a few weeks later, he met Betty Willie, the daughter of a local dentist, Dr. Carl Willie, and Emma Rowe Willie. Betty brought her sister Caroline's Fox Terrier to Daddy's office, and the claim is it was love at first sight. An Ausschlander meeting and marrying a local girl was a surefire way to get accepted in the community, too. By the way, when they met, they were both engaged to other people. So, Dad's veterinary career eventually took him home to the state of Texas. As a child, one of the things I'll always remember is Mom was the vet tech. She was the receptionist. She collected the money. I think Daddy would have worked for free, but you weren't going to get away without paying Daddy. It was pretty primitive by today's standards. I mean, Daddy didn't use X-ray until late in the 1960s. He had the ability to know whether he had a torn ligament or a sprain or how to treat it. He was an excellent detective. He'd always figure out what the problem was, and not just throw medicine at it, figure out the source of the problem and correct the problem. When they would use ether for any sort of operation, Mom would have a Dixie cup, which was a paper cup with some perforations around the bottom, a large piece of cotton inside, and the ether was liquid. So they would pour the liquid into the cotton, put the cup over the snout of the animal, and Daddy would determine whether it was anesthetized or not, and when to start the procedure. So I was involved in a lot of this stuff and kind of had my nose in everything. And it was interesting to have the room sort of filled with ether. So I would question Dad about a procedure that was kind of like, Dad, is that? So it was ethereal, I suppose, is the best way to put it. Oftentimes he would conduct what I would describe as a cesarean section. For some reason, the cat or dog would have trouble delivering its offspring, so he would do that procedure himself. And in the midst of doing the procedure, he would hand me the little kitten or puppy, and you would have to peel the sack off, blow in its face, and gently pat it to get it to start breathing. And these were just some of the things that I found to be really remarkable. How Daddy could bring in this live animal, put it to sleep, cut it open, bring out puppies, kittens. I mean, it's remarkable to see the little pads on their feet and their nose, and nothing had been used yet. It was brand spanking new. Their eyes weren't open yet, and it was awesome to be a part of that. Now, when I was in school, I would rush home every day to see what was in the outdoor runs, because we always had some different sort of animal out there. One day I run out there and I see, man, this is stocky black dog. So I go to the cage door and I kind of went, hey, what are you doing? So it stands up and starts walking towards me. So I'm going, Dad, Dad! So he comes running back out to the inside. He goes, what's the matter, son? This dog is walking. He says, that's a bear, son. Sure enough, had a little white V on the front. It was a Russian bear. And the carnival was coming through town. And these were the little guys that would ride the bikes and stuff like that for entertainment. And they needed vaccinations, so we took care of the bears. We also had a blue parakeet, appropriately named Bluebird. It developed a really large tumor on its chest. So Daddy operated on Bluebird. And took the tumor off. And the little bird lived for another, 2 or 3 years. Pretty remarkable recovery. Basically, when you were a vet in the 1950s, 60s, 70s, it was all encompassing. Whatever somebody brought you, you worked on that animal. You worked on large animals, you worked on small animals. He helped treat a python at the snake farm, but in his immense intelligence, he gave the medicine to the person and said, yeah, just apply it to the inside of his mouth. He'll be okay. There was a time when people wanted to have skunks as friends. So he would be out there, tail up, looking in the rear end of the skunk, removing the scent sac so people could have a pet skunk. And I remember, of course, witnessing that and smelling skunk for like a week afterwards. Also, the only way to check for whether an animal was rabid or had rabies was to remove its head. And we would have to take the head to Austin, to a government facility down somewhere in the vicinity of where Guadalupe Street and Lamar kind of came together. And it was my responsibility to hold the little box with the skunk head, or the cat head, in my lap on our trip up to Austin. So, another great experience. I had mumps one time, so we had the room very dark, and I was in there supposed to be immobile. Daddy comes in and hands me this thing that I think is like it's a hard-boiled egg or something. He says, oh son, that's a cow eye. I thought you might want to play with it while you recover. Okay, Dad. I appreciate that. Anyway, it was really neat to be a part of all of the recovery of animals. Very rarely had to put an animal to sleep. He took a lot of pride in keeping the animals alive and fixing them. And when he was starting his career here before I was around, those animals meant everything to the ranchers and farmers in our community. It was not just a pet. It wasn't a pet. It was something that was integral to the farm and ranch life. So it meant a lot to win those guys over because they weren't easy to win over. We know it. I don't know whether anybody here is aware, but Germans can be stubborn. I didn't know that either, but anyway. So we had to win them over. Anyway, so let's try to conclude this a little bit. Fast forward to one of his side jobs, so to speak, was Daddy was the city meat inspector during the 50s. And there were many local family butcher shops in town. Old Hardin Crafts, Daddy had one. My oldest brother joined the Army and was eventually stationed in Germany, and upon returning in 1960, he told Daddy about the small festivals that took place in rural communities all over Germany. And this sparked an idea. The Braunfels had many local sausage makers and beer distributors. It seemed like a recipe for a small German-style festival. It was really as simple as that. Daddy's seed of thought became a sausage festival and eventually Wursthall. He had help, of course, but it was his idea and the energy that got the ball rolling. It took a while to get going. The first couple of festivals had some weather challenges. The first one scheduled for Landon Park had to be relocated to the National Guard Armory. And like a lot of things in the province at that time, a little bit lethargic, but suddenly I think it was Kim's TV came in with the camera crew, the lights went on. And all these guys they jumped up with their wives, the music went a little peppier, they were dancing around, and I was really impressed. I think it inspired me to get a degree in TV and film production. He had doubters as well. So he had this idea after the National Guard on Ram. A couple of years later, he moved the festival to a burned-out dry goods store, Ivan and Fisher's, which is located across the street from Main Plaza. All that was left of the building was a basement. It was below street level and turned out to be a great location after all. Often referred to as the Wursthall. This is when the popularity grew tremendously. It became a regional and statewide phenomenon. Membership grew as well. Suddenly nobody felt silly dressing up the lederhosen anymore. They were proud of their heritage now. I'd like to mention a few of those original members. Charlie Schwamm, Joe Faust, Joe Chapman, Harley Schultz, and Stanley Monshagen. And these guys all had talents. I mean, Joe Faust was a banker, Harley Schultz and Charlie Schwamm were restaurateurs. So it started off a pretty blue-collar organization because Daddy needed electricians, he needed plumbers, he needed construction workers. Gordon Zucker helped him with a lot of that stuff. And, well, it was a real community effort. And I think the Wursthall was so important because there were still mostly local people, but they really were proud of what they were able to put on. And they were very welcoming to the people who attended the festival. And all of that spirit really caught on and helped to develop this festival that we see today. Before I leave, I want to thank the Wursthall Board of Directors. Sherman Krause is president this year, and I appreciate Sherman for this opportunity to remember Daddy. Randy Rust made a generous donation of sausage on a stick for us. Jimmy and Beth Owens and John Owens, they helped us put up a temporary plaque holder stand so we could show everyone the plaque, and we'll do that in a minute, I promise. Jay Nicola, Amy Tiemann, Matt Harper, Canal County Historical Commission, and the State Commission as well. Interesting story about that. Daddy's subject marker was approved on July 27th, which was his birthday. So, and it wouldn't be possible without my wife, Susan. She retired. She retired from the state of Texas. I know it was enjoyable for her to drive 55 miles every day to Austin, but she put that aside, and then we had COVID take over, and she started going through boxes of pictures and memorabilia that remarkably had survived 3 different floods in our house. So she put it all together, and you can see the result of her hard work behind me. Taught me stuff I didn't know about my own family. Thank you, Susan. So I'll conclude that it's important to know that the success, the ultimate success of today's Wursthall Festival was the result of the charisma and fortitude of one man, Dr. Ed Grist, my father. Thank you.
I have to admit, when Susie gave me that marker narrative a few years ago to look at, some of the things it was hard for me to read. Joe, you brought all that back again for me today about the head of the animal and whatever. So a lot of that was pretty tough. But anyway, he was quite a remarkable man. Now we're going to unveil the marker. Struck, who's the grandson of Dr. Grist, and Bradley Struck, who's the great-grandson of Dr. Grist. They're going to come up and unveil the marker. going to read the marker narrative.
Edgar Alfred Grist, DVM, raised in Austin and having received a degree in veterinary medicine from Texas A&M College in 1937. Dr. Edgar Alfred Grist served the community of New Braunfels in Comal County in many ways throughout the mid-20th century. Grist was the first licensed veterinarian in the county and could often be found on-site at farms, checking on animals and educating farmers on disease prevention and good nutrition. He met Elizabeth Ann Willey in 1937 when she brought her sister's dog in the newly opened practice at 637 West San Antonio Street. After receiving a scholarship to study sanitation, he began working from the Texas State Health Department Food and Drug Division. In 1943, he was elected Texas State Veterinarian. In this position, and as the city meat inspector, he enforced sanitary practices on local slaughterhouses, which were often sources of sickness due to the lack of regulation. In 1949, Dr. Grist bought 20.3 acres at 727 North Livo Avenue and built the new Braunfels Veterinary Hospital, opening his practice in 1950. In the 1950s, he battled rabies and anthrax outbreaks in the county and continued to educate community members on the healthy practices. After receiving a letter in which his son John described the German village festivals with sausage, beer, and dancing, Dr. Grist had the idea to replicate this festival in New Braunfels. A prolific sausage making area, Wursthall, was a one-day event in 1961, but has grown to a multiple-day event benefiting the local economy and numerous charities. In the 1970s, Dr. Grist retired from the veterinary medicine and became the county sanitarian. His last decades were filled with civic work. His legacy lives on not only in the community, but throughout the entire state of Texas.
We're going to do a toast to Dr. Ed, so I hope you didn't drink all of your drinks that you brought in with you. You saved a little bit.
And which you've all been waiting for. And now we drink. If you will, sing with me. I'm Prosit, I'm Prosit, very clean kind. I'm Prosit, I'm Prosit, very clean kind. Smile, try, super, siki saki, siki saki, siki saki, siki saki, Prost. Thank you for coming. We will have this on permanent display at 727 North Livo Street. So come by and give it a look. Here's Cindy.
I'd like to thank you all for attending. If you will please remain standing for the retirement of the colors. This concludes our program. Thank you for coming. I want to announce as well, I've been told there's a lot of food. Please eat up. Have a great day.